There we go. Hey, Team Healthy. How you doing? All right. I have been looking forward to this one all week long. Last week, I asked you to send me some comments that you have heard from narcissists, and we're putting them under the category of absurd comments. And boy, did I get a whole bunch. I have a book over here. You all sent me so many different comments, and we're going to go through a whole bunch of them. Here's the deal. You sent me so many that I'm going to break it up a little bit. I'm going to go through as many of these comments as I can here today on our live feed. Um, I'm also going to shoot a video that's going to come up in about 2 to 3 weeks that is going to address some of these. And if you'll look for the phrase grossly insensitive, I'm saving some of the crazy ones for that particular video. So that'll be 2 or 3 weeks. And then you may have heard that we're about to put up a podcast. And I'm hoping that maybe it'll start next Tuesday. If not, then it'll be the following Tuesday. We're going to be uploading new podcasts on Tuesdays. And I'm going to take many of your comments here and do it on one of the podcasts there. We already have 3 that are already recorded. So it'll be podcast number 4 or 5 or something like that. But I am going to take what you sent me and use it greatly. So here we go. I asked you last week if you would send me comments that are absurd from the narcissist. One of the things that we can say is they operate with their own little alternate reality. They don't get it. And there are times when they just pop things out of their mouth. Sometimes they can be really mean. Other times it's just stupid. Can I say that? Sometimes it's just like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So here we go. I'm just going to dive right in, and I'm going to be quite curious. I can't do this and read the comments on the side on the live chat, but I go back and I pick up on all of your comments after we're done. And by the way, those of you who are watching with the tape feed, you can go ahead and put your comments underneath, and I'll read those too. And by the way, next week we're going to go back to our regular questions. So if you have other questions, then put them up there either on the live chat or in the comment section below, and we'll dive right into that next week. Okay, here we go. I have one. The first one I have here is from a sister who is referencing what her own sister would say. Okay. And then we'll put a little perspective on it. This narcissistic sister would say, my family is special, meaning family of origin. My family is special. I know there's no such thing as a perfect person, but if it was, it would be my mother. Now, the person who sent this in says, yes, and this is spoken by the golden child, and I had a dominant mother, and I would have to I would pull my hair out when I would hear this because I was the scapegoat. So here's the scapegoat having her older sister, who's the favored one, saying, "Oh yeah, we have a great family," and the dominant mother, who's pulled that older sister in, it's like, "Oh yeah, this is my favorite." But then you have the other sister. It's like, well, if you feel like the family's special, it may not be in the direction that I see it as being. But this younger scapegoated sister is the one, and often it works out this way, who realizes whatever you people out there, you and your flying monkeys, are referring to as wonderful or special, it's not for me. That's the absurdity. They're oblivious. Okay. Another comment, and I've heard variations of this one before, but it's a head shaker. This person says, I think it's reasonable for the husband and father to be a benign dictator. And then the person who wrote this in says, this is spoken, of course, by the husband and father. So I think it's reasonable for the husband and father to be a benign dictator. Have you ever looked up the word dictator, sir? The dictator means that you have the total and final authority and control and power over other individuals. And he's over there thinking, yeah, that works for me. And of course, when you have something like that, you're talking about somebody that is just a dominant person and they don't realize, hey, every human being has a free will. Dictators don't like to acknowledge free will, but they're thinking, yeah, that works for me. Not really. Or how about this one? This one falls under the category of being delusional. This person says, my ex was constantly telling me what a semi-god and master he is, and he claimed that he was battling with demons on my behalf. Okay, when I hear something like that, there's an out of touch with reality element there. Well, and so if he says, well, I'm fighting with demons on your behalf, um, he's a semi god, not quite up there, but I'm pretty close to it, and I'm the master here. It's like master of what? Delusional thinking. And that's what we mean when we say that there's so much absurdity that goes with this narcissistic pattern. How are you going to get through to somebody that thinks this way? Well, I think this next comment is not going to be somebody that's going to help explain it to the first one here. This person writes in and says that they've heard, I'm perfect. So the sooner you understand that, the better you'll be. It's like, perfect, huh? We open up the dictionary. There's your picture right there next to the word perfect. Only people that have a real high authoritarianism will say something like this. And also, only people who are deeply, deeply insecure will say something like that. Are you kidding me? I'm perfect. No, you're not. Come on. That's absurd. Okay. Now, this next one. And it just kind of, again, it's one of those that I've got some stuff here I wanted to hold on to. And there it is. And this next one is kind of nuts as well. Um, this person says, "Do not raise your voice or yell at me," as he yelled this to me. Okay, and this one falls under the category of double standards. Do not raise your voice or yell at me. Kind of like I'm doing right now. It's like, really? That's absurd. They don't even see the inconsistency in their double standards. Uh, this next person says, the narcissist I knew said, "This is my house and you will do what you are told." And then the next part, funny thing was, it was his mom's house. And then she puts LOL. Okay, this is my house and you will do what you're told, but it's actually my mother's house. I'm just living in it. And and then when she puts LOL, you just kind of shake your head and think, yeah, what else have you heard coming from that person? Okay. The next person writes in and says, in quotation marks, perfect, and then goes on to say the most outrageous comment that I've heard from a narcissist. It says, "I'm perfect." And that goes along with the other one. I'm so perfect. The sooner you understand that, the better off you'll be. And I'm thinking, yeah, actually, I am going to be better off when I understand that that's what you think. Because the more I understand it and what's behind the scenes, uh, I'm going to be able to make plans accordingly. Of course, they don't understand what that means. It's like, well, I thought perfect people could figure things out, but apparently not. Okay. Okay, this one, and this kind of falls under the category of what I would refer to as cornering questions. This person says, my dad would always start by saying, "Do you know what your problem is?" And by the way, that's in all caps. "Do you know what your problem is?" And I can imagine this person is over there thinking, well, no, but I'm about to be educated, aren't I? Let me tell you what your problem is. The problem is you're you. You're not me. I actually have a video on that. One of the things that narcissists will say that kind of illustrates how narcissistic they are is, "You're not me." It's like, thank God I'm not. Okay. Cornering questions. Okay, and this next one, it's like, A, are you speaking to a 4-year-old? B, I would never speak to a 4-year-old this way. This person says the absurd comment that they've heard is, when you don't fall in line, you need to be punished. Seriously? How about if you don't fall in line now in a very benign way? If you don't agree with me, or if you and I differ in our priorities, why don't we talk things through? And let's do it in a very reasonable and mutually respectful way. No, if you don't fall in line, which is different, you'll have to be punished. In other words, I'll have to bring my hammer down on you. And when you hear comments like this, and I've got pages of this, when you hear comments like this, it's like, do people really think this way? And the answer is in droves. That's why we have such a strong community here. You all know what this is like. I'm absolutely certain that virtually every one of you watching here today can say, "Oh, I can go along with these and a whole lot more." Okay, um, this next one, and this is just gross insensitivity. We'll go to that term. This person's absurd comment that they've heard is, "It's my right. Sometimes you need to be knocked down a peg. You're just too sensitive." No, it's not your right. In fact, chase a rabbit here. You know that I used to do a lot of anger management workshops. And one of the questions that I would sometimes get is, do I have a right to be angry? And I would tell folks, why don't we take that word right and pull it out, and then take the word responsibility and put it in its place. And so you can ask the question, do I have a responsibility to be angry? Well, that puts a whole different category, a slant on it, doesn't it? Sometimes you have a responsibility to say, I'm feeling angry and here's what I'm going to do about it. And there's a clean way that you can do it, by the way. We call it assertiveness. So this person says, it's my right. Okay, right there, when you're constantly thinking about it, this is my right. What you're thinking about is me and me alone. When you think about responsibility, you're thinking about me and you at the same time. You just need to be knocked down a peg. No, I really don't. You're too sensitive. Well, I am sensitive, that's for sure. When you've been pounded on, you kind of wince a bit when the next one is coming. Okay, this next one, this is quintessential blame shifting. When my ex-husband, okay, notice the term ex, wonder why. When my ex-husband would blow, he would turn around and say, "I want you to know you're making me do this." No, you did it on your own accord. I didn't make you do anything. You have a free choice, and that's what you chose to do. And then another blame shifting. You you taught me everything wrong that I know. You taught me everything wrong that I know. It's like, really? Well, okay, I guess you're in the educational mode now. If you just say something like, well, here's what my opinion is. Well, that's wrong. And now you're teaching me. Thanks, professor. Okay. This person, another comment from the ex. Wonder why they're the ex. My ex's comment, my parents raised me to do the right thing. Now, then this person goes on to say, this statement came after he admitted to having an affair with a woman younger than his youngest child. And then she puts, huh? Okay, my parents raised me to do the right thing. I guess this woman is thinking, well, it didn't take, it didn't work. You apparently were, you didn't pass the test. That's for sure. They may have tried to teach it, but it didn't soak in. Okay. Another one, this is another extramarital affair one. After being caught red handed in a terrible affair, his response was, "You disappointed me. I thought you had a better heart." And then she puts, "It was breathtakingly brazen." So here you have irrefutable evidence. My spouse is having an affair. And the best comeback that he can come up with is, "You're being cold." I thought you had a better heart than this. It's like, well, actually, because I do have a good heart, it does pain me. It does create distress, yes, but that's not a problem. That's where I am. The problem is you're not taking responsibility for what you did. You're trying to do the blame shifting kind of thing, and that's what they do. That's part of the absurdity. Okay. Now, another one that I put a cluster of these together on extramarital affairs. This person, blame shifting, says, "Well, you made me have an affair. It's your fault. And anyway, it was no big deal. You need to get over it." Well, A, I didn't make you get an affair or have an affair. I didn't talk to you about keeping secrets and having these schemes with this other person over here. It's not my fault. I didn't cause it. And yes, it is a big deal. And it's going to take me a while to get over it. And I don't know if this person took them to a divorce court or not, but no, yes, I do need to get over it. And it's going to take a while. And it's not going to be over in the way that narcissistic individual hopes. Do you see what I'm saying? These people, one of the videos that I did quite a while back is the easiest way to identify a narcissist. And the answer is watch how they respond, watch how they manage themselves in the midst of conflict. Healthy individuals, when they have conflict or if there's a problem, healthy individuals will say, well, I know you have your perspective. I have my issues I need to take a look at. Why don't we just put everything out on the table? Everybody needs to be honest and open. We need to have a sense of reliability and trustworthiness here in the way that we talk. Let's see. You made me have an affair. It's your fault, and it wasn't a big deal. You need to get over it. I don't think that rises to the level of responsibility there. It's not credible, that's for sure. It's absurd. Okay. This is an ultimate arrogant kind of statement in the absurd direction. There are 100 women who would be happy to be with me. You need to treat me better. It's just like, well, why don't we call those 100 women and let's go ahead and begin the interview process? Which one do you want? Uh, there are 100 women who would be happy to be with me. You need to treat me better. As opposed to, if there's a problem, rather than thinking about all those other women who would overlook my problem, I want to honor you by saying, talk to me about it. And as a team partnership here, let's figure out how we can come to a good middle ground. I really want to make sure that we are well coordinated. They don't think that way. It's just all about finger pointing and sidestepping responsibility. Okay, this next one, and I wonder how many of you have had something of this nature. This person says, well, the most absurd thing that I've heard from my narcissist is, you're trying to make me fat. Okay, so apparently we have a narcissist who's gaining weight, and the reason they're gaining weight is, well, you did it to me. Really? You're trying to make me fat. It's like, you're the one that's swallowing whatever it is that you're eating or drinking. I didn't do it to you. You did it. That's absurd. Okay. Um, the next person says, the narcissist in my life would often state in a jovial manner, I'm always right. And I'm sure the person that wrote this would say, well, I'm not laughing and it's not funny. You know, if you can say it in a truly humorous kind of way, and you've got a good reputation of being trustworthy, then okay, maybe you can get away with it. But just to say I'm always right, ha ha ha, it's like, you know, after a while that joke doesn't get the laugh lines like it used to. You know, that's absurd. Okay, here's one. And the person spelled it YAM. Just know that. This person says, the most absurd thing I hear is, I am what I am. And then this person says, it always drove me nuts as an excuse for being the densest human on this crazy narcissistic planet. I'm thinking, I am what I am. Isn't that Popeye in the cartoons? Yeah, I am what I am. It's like, well, okay, maybe this person needs to be in the cartoons. That's certainly a cartoonish statement. We'll just take the Popeye approach, and you know, Brutus pounds him, and then Popeye eats a can of spinach, and then runs away with olive oil. I am what I am. Okay, you really are. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with that. Okay, this next one. This is one of these deeply insensitive comments. The person is taking no responsibility. This person's absurd statement was, every marriage has lies and deception in it. And if you don't believe that, then you're stupid. Okay, I'm going to take an aside. Years ago, there were two researchers named Joe and Harry, and they came up with what's called the Johari window. Joe and Harry, Johari. Look it up, Johari. And the Johari window says there's a big, huge screen that represents everything there is to know about you. And then there's a smaller screen that represents what you reveal about yourself. That smaller screen is called the Johari window. And the theory that they had was the Johari window is never exactly the same as the full screen. Not everyone, even your own partner, is going to know every single detail about who you are. For example, it may be that yesterday your partner or your friend didn't know what you ate for lunch and it never has been disclosed. Well, in the grand scheme of things, that's no big deal. And so if you want to make an argument like this person says, that, there's always deception. Okay, there's always something that we don't know. But this person is talking about a lack of trustworthiness, which is of a whole different nature, morality and ethics, etc. Every marriage has lies and deception in it. And if you don't believe that, then you're stupid. It's like, well, actually, I do believe that principles and values and trustworthiness are reasonable to ask for in any kind of relationship, whether we're talking about marriage like he was, or in business, or in friendships, or any kind of organization. And we may not know every single detail about one another, but we can know each other's character. And to this person, character, it's not important. Okay. Okay. Another arrogant and absurd statement. This person says that my absurd statement is my ex would say he was right 99.9% of the time. And I'm kind of guessing, since this person is now her ex, that 0.1% of the time showed up a whole lot more than was wanted. So I'm right 99.9% of the time. Well, that 0.1% of the time where you're not is a real doozy, and there's a whole lot of them. I think we need to go back and check your math skills. Okay. Um, Next statement, somewhat similar to that. The absurd statement is, we would get along just great if you agreed with me all the time. In other words, check your brain at the back door. I don't want to know who you are and what you think. I just want you to be a yes person. We have a term for that, flying monkeys. I had a comment in one of the under one of the videos. Someone was asking, what is a flying monkey? And I had to explain the flying monkey is the one that makes apologies on behalf of the narcissist, and they just have agreement, and they secretly admire the narcissist for being all that they are. I don't want to be a flying monkey. Okay. We just get along if you just agreed with me all the time. It's like, no, I'm not going to compromise my integrity if that's what is required. Okay, this next one. Any of you have any family members that are in the Navy, or perhaps you were in the Navy once? This next absurd statement says, I was overseas when I was in the Navy, and I just know more about the world than you do. So apparently, this person, a former naval individual, has been questioned or has been caught saying or doing something was inappropriate. It's like, well, I was in the Navy. I know more than you. Well, how many of you could say, well, I went to Oxford. I know more than you. Or I've read 5 books. I know 5 things more than you. That's ridiculous. So some of these absurd comments fall under the category of just stupid. That's one of them. Okay. Now, this next one, this comment is written by somebody that I strongly suspect is or was under a trauma bond. Because this person said the most absurd thing that I had in my relationship, I had to apologize because he hit me. So there he is, slugging you or pounding on you or throwing you or whatever. And at the end of it, you have to say, I'm sorry. By the way, if you did say that, that implies a trauma bond. The implication is I'll say anything that I have to get you off my back, and I, excuse me, I don't know where to go from here. And it's so difficult when you're in that kind of situation. But when you look at the absurdity of something like that, that's when you begin realizing there's something dreadfully wrong here, and I've got to take care of that. And usually, talking it through is not going to be something that works with someone that goes in that kind of direction. Now, this next statement sounds like a Seinfeld, a line from Seinfeld. Okay, uh, can you hear George Costanza saying this one? It's not a lie if I believe it when I say it. So, so yeah, I did something wrong, and I tell you that it was something else. And at the time, it's like, I hope I can get this one past you. And then you call me out on it. It's like, well, it seemed right at the time. No, truth is truth. And if you're misrepresenting it, we have a word for that. It's called lying. But nonetheless, that's the no responsibility part. Okay, this next one. I wonder how many of you have heard this one or a variation. It's denial. This person says, "I wasn't screaming at you. I was just loud. I wasn't screaming at you. I was just loud and angry." What does screaming mean? Being loud and angry? Oh, well, never mind. But I still wasn't screaming at you. That's absurd. This next one was sent in by someone else, and it sounds like a summary of what so many of these people would say. This absurd statement says, "I'm the best thing that ever happened to you." Um, in whose opinion? Because if I'm on the receiving end of lying or deceptions or insensitivity and inability to empathize, irresponsibilities, and then you come along and say, "I'm the best thing that ever happened to you," it's like, do you remember the old country song that says, "Well, I'm ready for a better class of losers"? There we have it right there. Okay. Um, okay, this one is in the delusional category. This next one, this absurd statement, this person says, "You should worship me. You should worship me for all the things I do here for you." And then in parentheses, it says, "said sincerely with a straight face." Okay. You should worship me for all of the things I do around here for you. And not joking, not just plain matter of fact. It's like that almost the fact that it's said with a straight face, it almost just makes it that much more absurd. At least if they're yelling, you can say, well, they were kind of emotionally dysregulated. No, this was said in a moment of, to them, emotional sobriety, which is pretty sad. Okay. Um, Yeah. Anybody in your life ever been called mental? Okay. Here's another illustration. This next person writes in and says, "My mother was just mean. She never yelled, but she was the most critical person you ever met. My dad, on the other hand, was for the most part easygoing, and I always felt safe around him. When mom was ticked off at dad, she would confide in me, 'I think your dad has gone mental.'" Okay. In other words, if dad does something that I don't like, well, he needs to take some nerve pills. He's gone mental. And it's like, I don't know, maybe you're mean. Maybe dad is just a nice guy and he's fed up. And besides, the word mental, as it's being used here, is an improper use of the word anyway. Okay, never mind. That's between you and dad, I guess. Now, this next one, I think of all of the ones that have been sent in, this is the one that made me take pause the most, and because it's such a filthy, ugly sentiment. Okay, so here you have it. This absurd statement: a person says that the narcissist said to me, "Why are you still alive? Why don't you go hang yourself? What do you think? Who would say that? Why are you still alive? Why don't you go hang yourself? It bothers me when I hear something like this. People are out there actually saying that and thinking that. It's just wrong on so many levels. The next one, how do parents love an ugly child? I'm lucky that all of mine were attractive. That's mean. That's condescending. that and you know when I talk to my wife and she knows that I love doing what I do here. And I mean, this is what I'm doing post counseling practice. And we have a worldwide community here, Team Healthy, and I'm so glad. I know that we have people who are having to put up with this kind of stuff, and you're on the receiving end of some really ugly and nasty kind of absurd comments. I hope that as we read these kind of comments, you can agree with me and you can agree with the rest of our team. This is not right. No human being was ever meant to be on the receiving end of such sentiment. And we can do better. We can be better. When I say at the end of so many of my videos, I want you to be a person of peace. What it means is I need to get away from chaos like this. Okay. All right. The next person writes one in that says, my former friend thought she was God's gift to humanity. She would start off by saying, you never have to justify yourself here. Well, okay, good. But then she would start lots of sentences with, you should, why haven't you, or you, why don't you? In other words, oh, you don't have to justify yourself. Now, let me tell you how to think. And so this person is thinking, well, um, I'm just being helpful. No, you're not. You're trying to make me have to justify who it is. And basically, if I just shut up and do whatever you say, then that's okay. But there's a delusional element there. There's a huge denial that this person is speaking in that imperative, condescending, controlling manner. They've got it all rationalized. The next one, and this is another term that tends to rub me raw. Okay. This person says, my narcissist uses the phrase tough love to bully me. You know, sometimes you just need to give some tough love. Okay, I can appreciate the fact that there are times when you need to establish consequences. You need to set boundaries. That whole this is me, that whole course that I have is about setting boundaries and being firm and knowing how to stand up for who you are. This thing about tough love and I remember it became popular probably back in the late 70s, early 80s. To me, when people use the term tough love, they're throwing in that word love as an excuse that says, well, this means that I can just be a mean bully. And so this person picks up on it. My narcissist uses the phrase tough love to bully me. That's exactly what it is. And what is tough is probably not at all loving. Again, I appreciate the fact that we need to establish boundaries. Most narcissists, when they go in that direction, it's like, that's not what they're trying to accomplish. And it doesn't come across as love at all. Okay. And then the next one, this person says, my narcissist uses the phrase, I'm not going to sugarcoat things for you, then fill in the blank. And when somebody says, well, I'm going to give you tough love, or I'm not going to sugarcoat it, that's never a good lead in because here comes the hammer and it's going to hurt. And so it's their way of trying to justify in advance why it's okay for them probably to be abusive toward you. Don't buy it, whatever. It's absurd. Okay. This next one, this person writes in and says, absurd but true. Okay, here it comes. After a 17-minute temper tantrum aimed at my 86-year-old invalid mother, my narcissistic sister said, that's what happens when mom pushes me too far. I don't apologize. That's who I am. So it's one thing to say, I got triggered. Okay, sometimes that happens. I got triggered, and I wish it weren't that way in my relationship with my mother. But it did happen, and I need to check myself on that. No, in this case, I got triggered, and I'm going to go into this long tirade about how awful of a human being that person is. And if you want to call me out on it, well, it's her fault. It's like, well, at some point, do you suppose that maybe you need to take responsibility for your own anger? I think so. And I think it's reasonable to say, if mom triggers me, then I need to figure out on my end how I'm going to do this so that I don't blow and have these long temper tantrums. No, let's just say it's mom's fault. End of discussion. Okay. Um, okay. I've got another one, and this kind of falls going back to that one about tough love, and I'm not going to sugarcoat things. This next one, I'm sure that you've heard this one, most of you. This person says, my absurd statement is, I'm just trying to teach you, fill in the blank. I'm just trying to teach you. No, you're not. You're trying to pound me into submission. That's what it is. This next one, when I saw this one, I just rolled my eyes on this one because of one word, and I think you're going to pick up on it. This absurd statement from the narcissist says, "Are you are you really a demon? I adjure you to tell me." I adjure you. ADJURE. By the way, we get the word jurist and jury and jurisdiction. In other words, it has to do with the legal system. So, are you really a demon? I command you as if you were under oath in court to tell me. Are you a demon? I promise to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. No, I'm not a demon. Okay, there you have it. And that's just the ultimate authoritarian. You cannot lie to me. I think you're a demon. By the way, so many strongly controlling people will try to make their point by asking questions. And this is one of them. Okay, sorry, I keep having this thing go off. Don't worry about it. The little ding. Actually, a pretty little ding. I adjure you. Well, okay. I just told you my answer. Let's see. Okay, just a couple more. I notice we're running down on time. This person says, my narcissist says he's a messenger from God, and he was sent by God to take revenge on me. You know what my reaction to that would be? Well, after all of that, I had a conversation with God, and he told me something very different. You're not a messenger from God. Um, and so if you want to take revenge on me, pass. I think that's about you. That's not about the Almighty. Okay. And then this next one, and the false or the absurd statement is, I think you have a lot of false memories. And then this person says, that one took my breath away. Okay. I'm not even halfway through, and we're down on time here today. And like I say, I'm going to do a podcast, and I'll shift it up a little bit. But there's a whole bunch of comments there. I don't even know how many I read here today. These are comments that I'm not making up. These are the ones that you sent me. And it tells me that every one of us is susceptible to being on the receiving end of absurdity from these narcissistic people. And I wanted to do this special, different kind of a live feed today to remind you, you're not by yourself. You're not alone in what you're having to deal with. The narcissist wants you to think that, no, you're uniquely idiotic. You're uniquely problematic. When in fact, no, there's a large club of us, a large community over here who have to put up with these kinds of absurd sentiments and comments from the narcissistic individuals. Don't you dare imply that there's something uniquely inappropriate about me when I say I don't like being treated this way. So I'm hoping that you can stand firmly on who you are and what you know wisdom and truth and self-respect to be. And when these narcissists come at you with their absurd, condescending, overbearing kind of comments, I'm hoping there's a part of you that says, I'm not buying into that. I don't feel the need to make somebody change their mind when they're that delusional. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start believing fully in myself and acting fully upon what I know is wisest and best. And if the narcissist wants to keep coming at me with their many absurd thoughts and feelings and interpretations, my response is interpret away. I can't do anything about where you are, but I can sure do a whole lot about me. And I'm going to be anchored in DRC. I'm going to be anchored in integrity. And that's what we're going to do here on Team Healthy. So this gives you a pretty good idea of what the members here inside of Team Healthy are having to deal with. But as a community that's committed to growth, I'm hoping we can call it out, see it for what it is, and then move on with the idea that says, oh, what a relief that I don't have to put my personal psychological, emotional well being into the hands of people who are absurd. Don't have to do that. Okay, guys. Um, Thank you for so many of the comments. And if you didn't hear yours read, like I say, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm not sure what the title of it'll be, but it'll probably be like the fourth or fifth podcast in my new series. And either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after that, we're going to start uploading podcasts, and we'll have some information about how you can access that. What we're having to do is go with Apple and some of the other platforms that do podcasts. They make you fill in all this kind of stuff and get up on their platform. And also we're doing all that right now. So, okay. Now, if you have questions of a more normal kind of nature, if normal is the right word, or mainstream, I should say, go ahead and put them underneath the comment section, or if you have a little bit of time here in the chat section, and I'll pick up on them. Next week, we're going to go back to answering some of the lifestyle questions. And I'm hoping that you can say, I am going to be somebody that stands for what's right and best. You can count on me. And if that narcissist wants to say they don't agree with me, that's their prerogative, but they're coming from an absurd position. I shall see you guys next week. I hope between now and then it turns out to be good for you. I'm so thankful for you allowing me to be on your journey, and I'm so thankful for all of you who are part of Team Healthy. See you next time. Bye.